"Ma'am, step away from the premises," one of the deputies called out. Karen's eyes flared with fury as she jabbed a finger toward me. "That's him. He's trespassing on our HOA's private property. Arrest him." 3 sheriff cruisers boxed in my barn. Red and blue lights danced across the old wood siding. Curious neighbors peeked through curtains or stood in driveways filming with their phones. I didn't budge. I just leaned against the fence post, arms folded, boots coated in dust, and a faint smirk on my face. When the officers walked up, I stayed calm, my voice steady. "This land, all 200 acres of it, belongs to me." The lead officer blinked. "All of it, every last inch," I said, "including the very ground Karen is standing on." Karen went pale as paper. That's when I reached onto my truck and pulled out the file I always kept close, complete with deeds, titles, maps. The officers flipped through them slowly. Karen's smugness faded with every page, but before anyone could say a word, Karen let out a frustrated cry and bolted toward the whole clubhouse, dialing furiously on her phone. Now, I know what you're thinking. How did it come to this? Why would a middle-aged woman in pearls and a designer jogging suit call the cops on the actual landowner? Let's rewind. My name is Jacob Miller. I'm 41 years old, a quiet man by nature, former military, and now the proud owner of a ranch on the edge of what used to be open farmland in Arizona. My goals in life are simple: care for my cattle, fix up old tractors, and be left in peace. The land's been in my family for 3 generations, long stretches of grazing fields and dusty trails. But as the years passed, developers swarmed in. A rural luxury neighborhood sprouted around me like weeds after rain. They called it Desert Springs Meadows, complete with its own home. At first, I didn't mind. The property value went up. Got some new neighbors, most of them decent folks. Young couples, retirees, hard-working families. And then a broken bar Karen arrived. Real name, Amanda Whitmore. But nobody called her that for long. Within 3 months of moving in, she was the HOA president. I don't know how she pulled it off. Maybe it was the cupcakes she brought to meetings, or maybe people just wanted someone else to deal with the paperwork. Our first encounter, she strutted right up to my porch with a clipboard and said, "You need to paint your barn red. It's HOA color standard." I blinked. "I'm not part of your home." She looked at me like I'd started speaking Latin. "But this is Desert Springs Meadows." "No, ma'am," I said. "This here is Miller Ranch. Been in the family since 1931. She turned on her heel and walked away without another word. I figured that was the end of it. I was wrong. Soon after, things started shifting. A brand new gate showed up at the end of my gravel road. HOA signs were planted near my fence line. One morning, I found an HOA newsletter in my mailbox addressed to "Dear Homeowner." I chuckled at first. Then came the notice duct taped to my barn: violation of HOA Code 7.4a, unauthorized storage of farm equipment. Remove unsightly items within 72 hours. That's when I knew I had to act. I went to the next HOA meeting, quietly took a seat in the back. Karen stood at the front, giving updates about flower beds and fencing color schemes. I raised my hand. "Excuse me," I said. "Why am I getting HOA notices? I never signed anything." She smiled like I was a confused child. "If you live in Desert Springs Meadows, you're automatically part of the HOA." I leaned forward. "I have the original property records. My land predates this development by 70 years. That's when she snapped. "Then maybe it's time you sell and move somewhere else. We're trying to build a community here." I didn't reply. I just walked out. Days went by. Too quiet. Then, trouble started. Water pressure dropped on the west side of my land. Pipes filled with mud. A plumber traced it to a rerouted drainage system done by the HOA supposedly for community irrigation. They never asked. Worse, they started targeting others. Miss Clara, 82, was fined for having too many garden gnomes. Another family got penalized for owning a blue car. A said it clashed with the HOA's aesthetic. That was the final straw. I drove to the county records office, spent days digging through permits, plats, and surveys, and that's when I found it. The entire HOA had been using my land as the clubhouse, the parking lot, even the greenbelt garden. All of it was on my property. I said nothing. One afternoon, I parked my old truck next to the clubhouse and began unloading hay bales. Just to make a point, Karen came running. "You can't do this. This is community land." "No, Karen," I said, "it's mine." She called the police, and here we are back where the story began. The officers were still reading my documents when a loud boom echoed from across the field. Smoke rose from the east side of my ranch. My hay barn was on fire. I dropped the file. The deputies started shouting into their radios, running toward the flames. Karen stood frozen, phone still at her ear, her expression twisted from anger to disbelief, a broken bar to fear. I sprinted across the dry dirt, heart hammering. Smoke choked the sky. Flames devoured the old wooden structure at the barn my grandfather had built, the one that held my father's old tractor. Neighbors rushed over with hoses and buckets. Fire trucks arrived minutes later, but it was too late. Everything was gone. The fire chief approached, voice low. "Someone started this from the back. Doesn't look like an accident." I didn't say anything, just nodded. Cops asked questions. Karen denied knowing anything, claimed she was on the phone reporting me. But I had something she didn't know about: a camera, a dusty old trail cam mounted on my shed roof. It still worked. The footage showed a teenager tossing something flaming into the barn. Hoodie up, but his sneakers stood out, neon green, same shoes I'd seen on a local kid who always hung around Karen's place. I turned the footage in. Arson investigation opened that day. Then something unexpected happened. One by one, home members started coming to my door, uneasy, guilty. "I had no idea the clubhouse was on your land. Did you know they planted over your fence line?" Word spread like wildfire. Karen vanished for a while and no public appearances. Maybe hiding, maybe lawyering up. I kept digging. More evidence. Every permit, every structure, a broken bar, all built partially on my land. I brought in a land use attorney from Flagstaff. He reviewed everything. "This is a textbook case of encroachment and fraud," he said. "They built on your land. You can sue or evict them." I didn't want revenge, just peace, so I gave them two options. Option A: vacate and pay a retroactive usage fine. Option B: sign a lease with me as their landlord. Karen refused. Doubled down. Flyers appeared on doors. "Jacob Miller is threatening our community. His claims are fake." She called a special home meeting. I went. Room was packed. "He's bullying us with fake documents," Karen cried. "He wants to destroy our neighborhood." I calmly stepped forward. "I just want what's legally mine." And I brought proof. I passed out copies of surveys, maps, and deeds. Silence. Karen snatched a page and read it. Her face went pally. "Broken bar again. This is forged." "It's not. And I welcome a court battle," I said. She scowled, then stormed out. But this time a broken bar. The room stayed. People turned to me, asking questions, looking for solutions. I told them, "This isn't about hate. It's about fairness, and if we work together, we can fix it."